It was past midnight when I hid under my blanket, whispering into a video call with Damien Harlow, my best friend's older brother, and also the man who had become the center of my heart. Out of nowhere, Marissa Kincaid threw herself onto me with a groan of frustration, huffing that her brother must be insane if he really had a girlfriend. Whoever that unlucky girl is. I pity her, she muttered, flipping my leg as if to punctuate the thought. My pulse stuttered in panic, but I snapped upright, masking my nerves with the calmest corporate face I could manage, like I was suddenly back in a boardroom. "Mr. Harlow, the situation is under control," I announced in my most professional tone. On the other end of the line, Damien's low chuckle slipped through my headphones. "Elara, you're unbelievable," he teased, and God help me, I felt unbelievable too. I had nearly been caught, nearly exposed, but at the last second, I had turned disaster into survival. Still, I slammed the call off quickly before Marissa could notice more than she already had. She flopped beside me with an exasperated sigh. "My brother has completely lost it, hasn't he? Calling you after work like this. Make sure he pays you overtime." I pulled the headphones off, pretending to be just as annoyed. "You're right, it's ridiculous. Work hours are over and yet he won't leave me alone." I even sighed dramatically, adding, "Honestly, what is his deal chasing after me like that?" Marissa rolled her eyes, her suspicion growing sharper. "See, I told you he's the most irritating man alive. And to think he actually has a girlfriend. God must be blind. I should warn that poor girl before she drowns in misery." She rubbed her chin, narrowing her eyes like she was piecing together a crime scene. "But who could she be? I haven't seen him around anyone lately." I nearly choked on the irony. She had no idea that the so-called poor girl was me. The one who had just crossed that line with her brother less than a month ago. Her phone buzzed, suddenly pulling her attention. She glanced down, then shoved it into my hands with a scoff. On the screen, Damien had texted her directly, threatening to cut off her allowance if she didn't stop freeloading at my apartment. Marissa groaned and tossed the phone aside, glaring at me. "Why do you always wrap yourself so tightly in a blanket when you talk to my brother? Are you hiding something?" I cleared my throat, feigning casual. "The walls here are thin. I didn't want to disturb you." Trying to distract her, I asked lightly, "So how do you even know he's seeing someone?" She puffed up her chest and recited smugly, "Our parents dragged him into the family iMessage chat earlier, trying to set him up on another date. Do you know what he said? He told them, and I quote, 'I'm already taken, thanks but no thanks.'" My heart slammed in my chest. At that same moment, my own phone lit up with another message from Damien. "Tell that brat to go home. If she doesn't in 2 months, I'll cut her allowance for good." He was furious that Marissa practically lived with me now and clearly unwilling to tolerate it. I tucked the phone away quickly, praying Marissa wouldn't read the truth in my expression. She was still mumbling about which poor woman would become her sister-in-law while I sat there swallowing the reality. I tried to test her a little. "Aren't you afraid he'll actually cut your allowance?" She snorted, completely unbothered. "Please. If he tries, I'll run straight to Mom and Dad, and they'll team up against him. He may be the great Damien Harlow, CEO of Harlow Enterprises, but at home he's just my annoying brother. And honestly, he doesn't act like the brooding hero from those romance novels at all." She waved it off like she was untouchable, and I forced a laugh, excusing myself for bed. Once she was finally in her room, I texted Damien quickly. "I give up, but honestly, I kind of like having her here with me." His reply came instantly, sharp and playful as always. "Does her presence scare you away from my abs?" "Don't worry, sweetheart. I've got more than just abs to tempt you with." My cheeks burned at the memory of his teasing, my heart fluttering in spite of myself. It was becoming harder and harder to keep us a secret, harder to pretend that every glance, every late-night call, every shiver of laughter meant nothing. Sooner or later, I would have to find a way to tell Marissa the truth. After all, it was through her that Damien and I had even met. We had just started our freshman year at UCLA, and within days of sharing a dorm room, Marissa and I had become inseparable. That fall break, she invited me out for a day of shopping downtown, and when I arrived, it was Damien who was waiting with her. Until then, all I knew of him came from her endless complaints, How arrogant he was, how he called himself devastatingly handsome, how he once joked about taking out an insurance policy on his own face. She rolled her eyes every time she spoke of him, claiming he was the thickest-skinned man alive. But when I saw him for the first time, I understood exactly what she meant, only in a way she never realized. Damien stood tall, nearly 6'3", with pale skin that caught the light like marble-sharp features cut with elegance, and an air of lazy confidence that made it impossible to look away. In that moment, absurdly, the phrase she mocked, devastatingly handsome, flashed across my mind as if it had been written there all along. He greeted me with nothing more than a polite nod before ushering Marissa to the car, and yet something inside me had already shifted. Marissa, of course, kept complaining. See what I mean? He's insufferable, acting like I begged him for a ride when it was Mom and Dad who insisted. He never stops reminding me how much trouble I am. I laughed it off, but deep down my thoughts lingered on Damien longer than I wanted to admit. Damien Harlow was tall, close to 6'3", with pale skin that seemed carved from stone and sharp features that carried both strength and elegance. There was something about him, an aura of lazy confidence laced with untamed defiance that made it impossible to look away once your eyes found him in a crowd. That first time when Marissa introduced us, his gaze on me was nothing remarkable, nothing that suggested he had noticed me at all. He exchanged a few polite words, then slid into his car and was gone. Marissa grumbled the moment he left, muttering that he was a pain to deal with and reminding me that she hadn't even asked him to give her a ride. Their parents had insisted. And the whole way here, he wouldn't stop nagging me about being troublesome. She huffed her annoyance real enough to make me laugh, though I quickly steered the conversation elsewhere. When the break ended and we returned to campus, it was Damien again who drove her back this time, hauling her heavy bags up to our dorm room himself. Before leaving, he gave me a nod, simple and brief, but it stuck with me longer than it should have. Marissa rolled her eyes, puzzled that he had volunteered for something their parents usually handled. I don't know what's gotten into him, she muttered. I didn't dwell on it, not then. But each new semester without fail, Damien would be the one to bring her back. Over time, with every casual hello and every small favor, he and I began to recognize each other, a quiet familiarity building where there had once been nothing. Eventually, we even connected on WeChat, though it had been my suggestion. At the time, Marissa was reeling from her first heartbreak. Her ex was the worst kind of playboy, the kind who could juggle women with the ease of an octopus with 8 arms. When Damien discovered the truth, he didn't waste words. He went straight to the guy and left him in the hospital, bruised and broken. Marissa collapsed into a fever afterward, her grief and anger catching up with her. During those days, I sat by her hospital bed, and when Damien came by to check in, I told him softly, "Go back to work. I'll stay with her. If anything happens, I'll call you." And so we began texting. At first, there wasn't much to say. A month passed before the first real message between us, and even then it was about Marissa. But slowly the messages grew more frequent. He liked my posts, sent me songs he enjoyed, shared movies he thought I'd like. What began as obligation shifted into something else, something that lived in the small pauses of my day and the quiet spaces of my thoughts. That first look at him had shaken something in me, but I had never let myself imagine more, partly because I hadn't wanted to date anyone, partly because of Marissa. She was wounded for a long time, and one night she said to me with a trembling voice, "Elara, I'm serious. Don't fall in love with anyone. Men aren't worth it. Let's just live together forever, you and me." I had laughed softly, nodding, because the truth was, I loved her enough to imagine that future too. Spending my life by her side wouldn't have been so bad. Yet somehow, without warning, things between Damien and me began to shift. It was during winter break of our junior year that he messaged me out of nowhere. "Come intern at my company," he said, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. I agreed, stepping into his world of glass offices and relentless schedules, and under his guidance, I learned more than I had ever expected to. Somewhere between late-night project deadlines and shared dinners after work, I realized Damien had already woven himself into the fabric of my life. We began going out sometimes to eat, sometimes to watch movies. Technically, we were just friends, but the air between us buzzed with something unspoken, something we both felt, but neither dared name. A little over a month ago, after I received my first bonus from a project, I invited him out to celebrate. We walked back afterward instead of driving our steps slow along the sidewalk, under the glow of the street lamps. And then he turned to me suddenly, his voice calm but steady. "Elara, let's date." My breath caught. I tilted my head up to look at him and found myself locked in the depths of his dark eyes, a gaze so consuming it was like falling into a current I couldn't escape. In that moment, the words Marissa had once said echoed in my mind. "Men are no good. Don't fall in love." But my heart betrayed me. Beauty had undone me, and I was powerless against it. I knew I needed to tell her to confess before she found out on her own. But fate has its own cruel timing. The very next morning, as I was heading out, Marissa grabbed my wrist with an urgency I hadn't seen in her before. "Keep an eye on my brother for me," she demanded. Confused, I asked what she meant. Her eyes were fierce, almost desperate. "I need to know who he's dating. I have to find her and warn her about what a terrible man he is." I laughed despite myself, shaking my head at the melodrama. "You make him sound like a villain in a fairy tale," I teased. She pouted, unconvinced. "You know what he's like. Any girl who falls for him is throwing her life away." I smiled softly, hiding the storm in my chest. Because the girl she was so determined to protect, the girl she thought was doomed, was me. And truthfully, I didn't feel unlucky at all. I had barely settled into my desk at Harlow Enterprises when my manager rapped on the edge with a stack of files in hand. "Elara, is your proposal finished? The CEO himself asked to review this project. Get it to his assistant as soon as possible." My heart skipped at the mention of Damien, but I kept my tone steady. "Yes, I'll deliver it right away." As soon as he left, my coworkers swarmed. "Unbelievable, Elara. The CEO personally requested your plan. You must have nailed the last one. We're jealous," they teased. I only smiled, pretending their words didn't stir the truth I was hiding. Damien had a habit of cloaking personal excuses in professional requests, and this was just another example. Clutching the file, I made my way to the top floor. When I stepped into Damien's office, he was leaning over his desk, signing papers with effortless elegance. The moment he saw me, his mouth curved into that lazy, dangerous smile that made my knees weak. "My elusive girlfriend," he drawled, his voice a mixture of mockery and charm. "Seeing you is harder than getting an appointment with the governor." I set the proposal on his desk, trying to look unimpressed, but he leaned back in his chair with the arrogance of a man who owned the world and crooked a finger at me. "Come here." Before I could argue, his strong arms slid around my waist, pulling me firmly onto his lap. My breath caught as I whispered his name, panicked. "Damien, what if Ethan walks in?" He chuckled, brushing his lips against my ear. "As long as you're here, he won't. He knows better." His dark eyes glimmered with mischief, and I melted despite myself. Ethan already knew about us, and though he'd never betray his boss, the thought that he was aware of exactly what we were doing behind closed doors made my face burn hotter. "Did you get rid of Marissa yet?" Damien's voice dropped low as he guided my hand to his stomach, pressing it against the ridges of his abdomen. Even through his shirt, the sensation made my pulse stutter. My breathing grew uneven, and the memory of the first time I had touched him came rushing back. Just 10 days ago, when he had boasted 8-pack abs, 5 years of training, I had blurted without thinking. Can I feel his eyes had flickered in surprise, before a sinful grin spread across his lips. "Of course, my body's yours, touch wherever you like." I had been too stunned to move, but he had never forgotten. Now sitting in his lap, his confidence threatened to undo me again. I cleared my throat, pretending calm. "You know I spend all my time with Marissa. She clings to me like glue." His smirk deepened. "So what you're saying is I'm not close enough to you to make you want to cling to me every day." I placed my hands firmly on his shoulders, speaking gently. "Give me time. She's still healing. I need to help her through this." He sighed dramatically, twisting my words into mischief anyway. That girl has no backbone? If only she knew the best man in the world is standing right here. His hands trailed along my waist, heat flooding me as he continued casually. We just need to find her someone decent. Problem solved. I rolled my eyes at his shamelessness. The best man in the world. Really modest much. He only laughed suddenly, lifting his hand toward me. The smooth back of it presented like some royal decree. Kiss it. For a moment I blinked, then leaned forward to brush my lips softly against his skin. When I pulled back, a perfect smudge of lipstick remained crimson and undeniable. He studied it with a gleam of satisfaction. Then he bent forward, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek. "Now go back to work, sweetheart," he murmured, releasing me reluctantly. Flustered but smiling, I returned to my department, determined to set aside thoughts of matchmaking for Marissa and focus on my own tasks. I had barely sat down when my phone buzzed. Marissa's voice came shrieking through the line. "Elara, did you see it? My brother just went public." My stomach dropped, panic flooding me. "What?" My coworkers turned to stare as I bolted upright. I rushed into the break room, fumbling with my phone, opening Damien's profile. And there it was, a photo of his hand, the exact one I had just kissed, with the lipstick mark glaring like a confession in bright red. My heart pounded as I scrolled, finding dozens of comments flooding beneath. The comments under Damien's post were exploding. "Wow, Damien really has a girlfriend. I thought he was joking." His reply came swiftly, dripping with confidence. "Since when have I ever joked about something like this? A man like me should of course have someone." My heart hammered as I scrolled, only to see Julian Brooks chime in. "Who is she? Who tell us who?" Damien's answer was simple but devastating. "My first love." Julian immediately fired back, teasing, "Don't flatter yourself, Damien. I had my first love before you did." My chest tightened as I read the words because I knew the truth. I was his first love. I had always been. Marissa's shrill voice rang through my phone again. "Elara, don't tell me you know nothing about this. That lipstick mark was fresh. He didn't just forget to wash his hands after the restroom. She must be at your office right now." My palms went clammy, her sharp intuition cutting closer than I could stand. She prattled on, narrowing her theory. "That shade, it's gorgeous. It looks exactly like the Tom Ford 0A lipstick you wear all the time. Don't you think her taste is suspiciously like yours?" My pulse spiked. She was too close, far too close. I forced a laugh, stammering, "Marissa, I'll come by later. There's something I need to tell you." But before she could question me further, I ended the call, rushed back to my desk, pulled a different lipstick from my bag, and hurried into the restroom to reapply. Love these days felt like living in a thriller, every moment on the verge of exposure. An hour later, Marissa stormed into the office like a hurricane. My stomach sank the instant I saw her. "Why are you here?" I tried to feign ignorance, but she grabbed my arm and announced, "To investigate. Now come eat with me." At a restaurant nearby, she slipped into her Sherlock Holmes persona, analyzing every detail as if she were solving a murder case. After a dramatic pause, she slapped the table. "It must be Ethan Cole." My eye twitched so hard it nearly gave me away. "Ethan is a man," I reminded her flatly. She nodded as if she had uncovered a secret. "Exactly, that's why my brother's being so cagey. He wants people to suspect, but not know for sure, to slowly ease our parents into accepting it." "It makes perfect sense." She rubbed her chin thoughtfully. "Ethan is fair-skinned, quite delicate-looking. But the lipstick, do you think he wears the same shade too?" I coughed loudly to cover my panic. Her imagination was boundless, but her logic was terrifyingly sharp. Quickly, I changed the subject. "Marissa, there's something I really want to tell you. It's been years now. I think it's time to let go of the past, to look forward. You deserve to heal." This time, my words weren't a distraction. They came from the heart. I wanted her to step out of her shadows just as Damien needed her to. She froze, her expression flickering between guilt and denial before turning her face away. It wasn't pain I saw, but something hidden, something evasive. I didn't press her. These things couldn't be forced. Damien, however, wasn't nearly as patient. The very next morning, under the pretense of work, he summoned me to his office again. As soon as I closed the door, he pulled me into his arms, burying his face against my neck, his voice thick with frustration. I already went public, and you still won't acknowledge it. They're all calling me a liar. I laughed nervously, brushing his cheek. It's not a big deal. A few days and people will forget. His dark gaze sharpened, cutting right through me. Not a big deal. This is my life, Elara. You've kissed me, you've touched me, and you still don't plan on taking responsibility. His ears flushed red as he cleared his throat, but his words carried the weight of demand. I cupped his face, smiling softly to ease his storm. I am taking responsibility, but I need to help Marissa steady herself first. She's not ready. His eyes softened, though his lips curved in a hungry smile that betrayed his patience was wearing thin. He leaned closer, and when our mouths met, the kiss turned hot and consuming, every promise and every fear tangled together. But just as I lost myself in him, Ethan's voice broke through the door. "Mr. Harlow, your sister is here." My entire body froze in terror. Damien, however, only smirked, his expression amused, as if he were granting me mercy. "Fine, hide under the desk," he murmured. I dropped instantly, heart thundering, as I crouched in the shadows, looking up to see him glance down at me with a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing, and quickly wiped the lipstick from his mouth just as the door swung open. "Ever heard of knocking?" Damien snapped. Marissa's voice answered dryly. "If I knock, you'll just hide her, won't you?" "Tell me, Damien, are you covering something up? Or should I say, someone?" Damien, of course, was completely unbothered. While I sat under his desk, trembling with panic, he only smirked with that infuriating ease, as if indulging me. "Fine," he murmured, "hide under there." I didn't wait for him to finish before I slipped beneath the desk, heart pounding so loud I was sure it would give me away. From the shadows, I glanced up only to catch his eyes looking down at me. For a brief second, something darker flickered in his gaze. A shadow of longing or frustration before he swallowed hard and turned away. "Lipstick," I whispered. His hand jerked, then he coughed and quickly wiped his mouth with a tissue just as the door opened. "Ever heard of knocking?" His voice snapped sharp with irritation. It paused, then Marissa's smug reply. "If I knock, you'll just have time to hide her. What's the point unless you're hiding someone right now?" My throat went dry, my palms slick with sweat. She was relentless, born to be a detective. Damien's tone dropped into warning. "If you ever barge in again without knocking, forget about your allowance for the rest of your life." Marissa scoffed. "See, you're totally flustered. Definitely hiding something." Her footsteps crept closer. My chest tightened until I could hardly breathe. Then her voice cut through with suspicion, so sharp it nearly made me laugh from under the desk. "I know why you won't reveal her. It's Ethan Cole, isn't it?" I bit my lip to keep from giggling. Damien's jawline was tight, hard as stone. He looked down at me, brows furrowed, his voice deliberately calm as he called out, "Do you really want to know who she is?" "Of course," Marissa said smugly. He chuckled low, his lips twitching. "Fine. When you get yourself a boyfriend, I'll tell you who mine is. Fair trade." "Shh," she snapped. "Keep your voice down. Don't let Elara hear." Her muttering faded into a whisper. "We promised each other we wouldn't date. He really has the nerve." Then abruptly she announced, "Never mind. I just remembered something. I'm leaving." The door shut with a slam. For once, Damien was stunned into silence. "That girl, what is she planning now?" he muttered before bending to help me out. He brushed down my clothes gently, his voice unexpectedly serious. "Elara, if you're really going to help her move on, choose carefully. Don't hand her over to someone unworthy." I know, I breathed, still shaken. I hurried out of his office, grateful the disaster had passed, though my heart hadn't stopped racing. Being nearly caught like that was nothing short of terrifying. Saturday came quickly. Marissa yanked me out of bed at dawn with her usual enthusiasm. "Get up, we're going to the beach today." The word beach cleared my sleepiness instantly. I bolted to the shower while her laughter followed me down the hall. By the time we reached the Marina del Rey harbor, the yacht was already buzzing with 5 or 6 of her childhood friends' faces. I recognized from past gatherings. To my surprise, Julian Brooks Damien's closest friend was among them. As soon as greetings were exchanged, Marissa hooked her arm through mine and tugged me toward a tall, shy-looking guy I vaguely remembered from her stories. "This is Carter," she chirped her childhood buddy. "Carter, take Elara downstairs and show her the outfit I picked out for her." I blinked, confused. "What do you mean outfit? I already have mine." She grinned devilishly. "Nope. I prepared something for you. It's waiting in the cabin." Suspicion prickled as Carter led me down. The moment I closed the door behind me, my suspicions were confirmed. Laid out neatly on the bed was a 3-piece bikini, so blindingly bright it nearly made me faint. This is what she prepared. My hands trembled. By the time Carter knocked on the door, calling out gently, "Elara, are you okay? Do you need help?" I had no choice. "No, I'm fine. I'll be out soon." I called back, forcing myself into the ridiculous thing. At least there was a sheer cover-up I could throw over it. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out. Carter turned crimson the second he saw me ducking his head, so quickly I almost laughed. When we returned to the deck, Marissa's face twisted in mock disappointment. "Really, Elara? You have a body like that and you're hiding under a cover-up. What a waste." She spun toward Carter mischievously. "Carter, don't you think she should take it off?" The poor boy stammered, "Elara looks beautiful no matter what she wears." His face flamed redder with every word. Marissa's eyes gleamed with triumph as she leaned close to whisper, loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Oh my God, Carter's blushing. Don't tell me he's falling for our Elara." I froze, my cheeks heating. "Marissa, stop it." But she only grinned wider, giving me a playful shove toward him before darting off to change herself. Marissa pulled me aside, whispering in a mock scolding tone, "Elara, what are you doing? You've got a figure to die for, and you're hiding it under that cover-up. What a waste of God's gift." She waved Carter over with a mischievous grin. "Carter, tell me, doesn't Elara look better without that thing?" Carter barely managed to glance at me before his face turned crimson. "Elara looks beautiful no matter what she wears," he muttered, staring at the floor. Marissa let out a loud laugh. "Look at him blush, Carter. Do you have a crush on our gorgeous Elara?" I tugged at her arm, mortified. "Stop it, Marissa. Don't say nonsense." But she only smirked, giving Carter a playful shove toward me. "You two talk. I'll be back." Then she disappeared below deck, leaving Carter stammering and red as a tomato. Elara, His words stumbled over each other until I cut him off awkwardly. I should go find Marissa. Without waiting, I darted down to the cabin and grabbed her arm. "What are you doing? Are you trying to set me up?" She met my glare without shame. "Carter's a good guy. Handsome kind, comes from a great family. He'd treat you well. Has he ever hurt you?" "So why not?" I could only laugh bitterly. "You're not helping me, Marissa. You're trying to ruin me." Back on deck, it became obvious she wasn't finished. She kept nudging us together, her eyes alight with schemes. The morning sun rose higher, and soon the group abandoned their drinking games to dive into the water. Marissa ran up, tugging at my hand. "Take off that cover-up. We're going in too." "I can't," I protested weakly. "Of course you can. You know how to swim, don't you?" "Come on, I'll help." She reached for the knot at my hip, ready to strip the cover-up herself when the roar of a jet ski engine cut across the waves. Everyone turned. The sleek black jet ski sliced through the water, spraying foam in its wake, and at the helm was Damien Harlow, his suit jacket flapping wildly in the wind. Damien, Marissa's voice cracked in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" He ignored her, his gaze locking on me before flicking coldly to Carter. The chill in his eyes was enough to still the air around us. My chest tightened. The tension was suffocating. He strode onto the deck, straight toward me. "Your stomach still hurts. I'll take you back." What I blurted before I could stop myself. "Elara, you're not feeling well," Marissa asked, suspicion lacing every word. It took me a heartbeat to catch on. "Oh yes, a little pain. That's why I asked your brother to come." Marissa's brow furrowed, clearly unconvinced. "You'd call him for that?" "Really, yes," I said firmly. "I should head back." You stay and enjoy yourself. She opened her mouth to argue, but I pressed harder. I'll be fine with Damien. Reluctantly, she let me go. Minutes later, I was on the jet ski with Damien, my arms wrapped around his waist, the spray of the ocean blurring behind us. When we docked and climbed into his car, I finally turned to him, breathless with nerves. Why are you here? He leaned close, forcing me back against the seat, his eyes smoldering. The space between us shrank until I could feel his breath. Tell me, Elara, weren't you supposed to be finding someone for Marissa? Since when did you let her set you up instead? My heart pounded erratically. What are you talking about? He pulled out his phone, thrusting it toward me. On the screen was Marissa's latest post, a picture she'd secretly snapped of me standing beside Carter. The caption was a dagger to the chest. They're perfect together. I'll make this match happen. Heat flooded my cheeks. That wasn't me. She just started playing matchmaker out of nowhere. Damien scoffed, tossing the phone aside. His eyes burned into me, sharp and possessive. She said you two looked good together. I slid my arms around his neck, pressing my forehead to his. The only person I look right with is you. His jaw eased, though his pride still bristled. He had come straight from work, tie-loosened suit, rumpled, unable to wait a single moment after seeing that post. My lips curved, teasing, jealous much, running over here like a storm. His hand tightened at my waist. Invite me in, he demanded softly. I hesitated only long enough to glance at the horizon where Marissa was still laughing on the yacht, too far to interfere. Then I whispered, "Come home with me." Back at my apartment, the door closed behind us with a decisive click, shutting out the world. The fading sun spilled amber light across the floor as Damien's arms wrapped around me. His touch traced my arms, slow and deliberate, his voice deep and husky. Elara, I belong to you now. Completely. You have to take responsibility for me. I couldn't hold back a laugh, but Damien didn't find it amusing. He pinned me down with a seriousness that stole the breath from my chest. You have to take responsibility for me, he said, his eyes burning into mine. I cupped his face, answering with all the sincerity I had. Of course, I'll never abandon you. His lips curved into a sly smile. Then stop seeing Carter. So that was what this had been about all along. Still, my thoughts drifted to Marissa. Why do you think she's acting like this? We promised each other back in college that we'd never date, and now she's running around playing matchmaker. Damien let out a humorless laugh. Who knows what's going on in that girl's head? But if she's already busy setting you up with someone, then she doesn't need you anymore. You're mine. I nodded, but when he reached for his phone, I quickly caught his wrist. Wait, let me talk to her first. She deserves to hear it from me. He frowned, clearly impatient, but didn't argue. I didn't get the chance to say anything. 2 weeks later, Marissa burst into my apartment unannounced. I was enjoying a rare day off when she threw the door open and yelled, "Elara, help me!" I rushed into the living room to find her collapsing onto the couch. What happened? I asked, panic rising. She grabbed my hand, her face pale. I'm pregnant. The word crashed into me like a wave. I nearly screamed. You what, pregnant how? She rolled her eyes despite the fear in them. Now isn't the time to panic. The problem is what I'm supposed to do about it. My head spun. Who is it? I demanded. Her eyes flickered with guilt before she whispered, Julian Brooks. The air left my lungs. Julian, you've been with him for almost 3 years, she confessed, voice barely audible. I just never told you. After everything with my ex, you always said men weren't worth it. I didn't want you to look at me differently. I stared at her speechless, my heart pounding in my ears. She gripped my hands. I'm sorry, Elara. It took me a long time to form words. Does Julian know? She shook her head. No, if I tell him, he'll want to marry me. And I'm only 23. I don't want to get tied down yet. Frustration knotted in my chest. You're sure you're pregnant? Yes. Missed my period, 2 positive tests. 2 lines. She even raised 2 trembling fingers like proof. I exhaled, forcing calm. We need to go to the hospital. Let's confirm it properly. At Cedars-Sinai, she went in for the exam, while I waited outside trying to steady my nerves. My phone buzzed. It was Damien. "Where are you?" His voice was clipped. "At the hospital," I said quietly. Silence hung heavy for a long beat before his voice came again, lower, colder. "Stay there, I'm coming, Damien, you don't." But he had already hung up. My stomach sank. Moments later, Marissa emerged, her face ashen. I grabbed her shoulders. "Well," he nodded slowly. "It's real." The world tilted under me. "So what are you going to do?" Her lips trembled. "I don't know." Before I could answer, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. Damien appeared, striding toward us with the force of a storm. Marissa's face drained of color. "What are you doing here, Elara?" "Did you tell him?" I barely had time to shake my head before Damien seized my shoulders, eyes wide and intense. "You're pregnant," after just once. His disbelief and rising hope tangled together until the hallway went silent with shock. What? Marissa's shriek pierced the air. "What did you just say?" People passing by turned to stare, but Damien didn't flinch. Marissa's voice rose higher, trembling with fury. "Tell me right now, what is going on between you two?" A few minutes later, the three of us sat in Damien's car, the air thick with accusation. Marissa was in the back seat, arms crossed, eyes blazing like a prosecutor about to tear us apart. "Talk," she demanded. I kept my gaze down, shame pressing heavy on my chest. Beside me, Damien gave a low laugh, though his jaw was set in grim determination. He turned to Marissa. "And what about you?" "That pregnancy, what the hell is that about?" Her bravado cracked instantly. She deflated with a sigh. I lifted my head, stunned. "It's Julian, isn't it?" Damien's eyes snapped to me. "You know I said nothing." My silence was answer enough. Marissa drew in a shaky breath, then whispered, "Yes, it's Julian. We've been together for 3 years." The car went dead silent except for the sound of her confession hanging in the air. Damien leaned back, closing his eyes before nodding once. "Good. At least now it's all in the open. Say it," Damien's voice cut through the silence like a blade. My head dropped, shame crawling up my neck. He gave a dark chuckle, his tone low but sharp. "And you, Elara, what's this about a baby?" Marissa deflated like a punctured balloon, her defiance vanishing. For once, she couldn't keep up the act. I lifted my chin, fire snapping in my voice. "You have no right to grill us when you've been hiding your own secret. You and Julian have been sneaking around for 3 years. Damien turned to me, eyes narrowing. "You knew I couldn't speak." My silence was an answer. Marissa drew a shaky breath, then closed her eyes like she was summoning every ounce of courage. "Yes, Julian, what of it?" Damien said nothing. The silence stretched until he finally gave a short, decisive nod. "Good." But the next time I saw Julian Brooks, his face was mottled with bruises, the handiwork of a man who didn't forgive easily. Julian didn't stay away, though. He showed up at Marissa's door again and again, declaring he would take responsibility no matter what. Marissa tried to push him off, but there was no escaping his persistence. One night I asked her quietly, "Do you even love him?" Her lips twisted. "I like him, but marriage? I'm too young. Who knows how long he'll stay this devoted." I laughed softly. "Julian isn't that kind of man. He'll fight for you." And after Damien's brutal warning, Julian fought harder than ever. Meanwhile, Damien at last openly claimed me as his own. Marissa chose to keep the baby. She and Julian began planning their wedding while I replayed the past in my mind, wondering how I'd missed the signs. Every time Damien scolded Marissa, Julian had been right there, chiming in like a loyal ally. When Damien posted that cryptic photo of his hand and my lipstick mark, Julian had commented about first loves. Back then, I hadn't understood. Now it was clear he had been talking about Marissa all along. They had hidden it well. Marissa had lived under my roof, sleeping across the hall while secretly in love with Damien's best friend. And somehow, between classes, family dinners, and late-night conversations with me, she had found time to fall pregnant. Julian beamed in a way I'd never seen before. Even with the bruises fading on his jaw, he radiated joy, the happiness of finally loving her openly. Damien, for his part, packed Marissa's things without a word and moved into my apartment himself, as if staking his claim on me was the most natural thing in the world. That night, as he pulled me against his chest, he let out a long sigh. For a second, I thought I'd really done it. Knocked you up on the first try, even with protection. Thought maybe my swimmers had superpowers. He paused, eyes narrowing. You're too quiet. You don't actually think I'm not that good, do you? I smothered a laugh. You're the best, Damien. Always. His smirk returned and he rolled over me, pressing a kiss to my lips before stopping abruptly. Wait, why does that sound off? I touched his face, correcting softly. Because it's true. I don't need to compare you to anyone else. In my heart, you're the only one who matters. That satisfied him. He kissed me again deeper, sealing the moment. The next day, we walked into Harlow Enterprises together, hand in hand. The gossip spread like wildfire. By noon, I was surrounded at my desk. Elara, you're dating the CEO. Incredible, we can't call you Elara anymore. You're Mrs. Harlow now. Don't forget us when you're ruling the office. I smiled faintly but kept my silence. Our love wasn't their business. The frenzy would fade soon enough. Or so I thought until I overheard the whispers by the break room door. No wonder she landed that project. With him backing her, who wouldn't? All that hard work, just an act. She's living off his favor. She's beautiful, sure, but looks only get you so far. Bet she won't last. Their laughter grated against my skin. I inhaled, then pushed the door open. Yes, I said, my voice steady. I'm beautiful, and I'm capable. Damien Harlow doesn't choose weak women. Being loved by him is my fortune, but don't mistake it, I earned my place here. Their faces drained of color. One by one, they stammered apologies. Sorry, Elara, we were just messing around. Yes, we didn't mean anything. Won't happen again. See that it doesn't, I said, coolly turning away. But before I could step out, a tall, familiar shadow blocked the doorway. Damien. He crossed the room in 2 long strides, wrapping me into his chest in front of everyone. Those who had mocked me seconds earlier looked ready to faint. His voice softened for me, sending a tremor through my heart. Being loved by you is my greatest fortune. Then he straightened his gaze, slicing through the room like a blade. Remember every word you just said, he commanded, eyes glacial. If I hear anything like it again, you can collect your last paycheck and leave. This company has no room for snakes who poison others. Yes, Mr. Harlow, we understand. Sorry, Mr. Harlow. Sorry, Elara. Their fear was palpable. I pressed my lips together, pulling gently at Damien's sleeve, urging him away. As we walked out together, I lifted my chin high. Whatever they thought I knew the truth, I had fought for everything I had. Damien recognized my worth, and so did the industry. Lunch, he murmured, squeezing my hand. I nodded, letting the world watch us step into the elevator together. Every step I had taken to reach this point had been my own. No shortcuts, no favors, no man propping me up. It was my talent, my persistence, my sleepless nights that had carried me here. Damien recognized it, and so did the industry. I tilted my head toward him, teasing. You came here just for me, lunch, he replied. His hand finding mine with such ease it felt like it belonged there forever. The weight of every gaze in the office pressed on us as we walked together toward the elevator. But I only looked at Damien. His fingers tightened around mine, his voice low enough for only me to hear. Don't let their words get under your skin. You were right, being loved by you is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me. I laughed softly, the heaviness in my chest dissolving. I don't care what they say. At first it stung, but now I see it for what it is. Envy. I had the skill and I had chosen the right man. Of course they would resent me. He smirked, brushing his thumb over my knuckles. They're already calling you Mrs. Harlow, you know. Since everyone's saying it, shouldn't you make it official? Give me the title that's mine. I arched a brow. What now? Marissa's about to get married. Wouldn't it bruise your ego if your little sister beat you to the altar? His dark eyes gleamed equal parts arrogance and hope. Exactly. I can't let her marry before I do. I thought for a moment, then whispered, once I close one more big deal, we'll get married. That winter I did. The project was a success, my bonus breaking records for my career. It was nothing compared to Damien's fortune. But to me, it was proof that I could stand tall on my own. I loved my work, and I loved him even more. We went straight to City Hall to register our marriage. Both families gathered soon after settling on a date for the wedding. Damien's mother, now my mother-in-law, spoke to me as she fussed over Marissa, who was heavily pregnant by then. Elara, don't think about babies until Marissa has hers. One grandchild at a time, or I'll go crazy. Damien's arm slid around my waist instantly, his voice firm. Mom, let Marissa handle that for you. Don't pressure Elara. It was something I had told him long ago. I wasn't ready for children yet. I wanted to build my career a little longer, to live freely for a few more years. And he never once pushed. He always said he admired that part of me, the determination, the way I refused to let life box me in. My mother-in-law only smiled, indulgent and kind. Of course, it's her choice. I'll wait as long as it takes. Her words made me blink back tears. She was far more open-minded than I ever expected, giving me space, instead of demands, centering me instead of traditions. She even joked, I can finally relax. Damien's married. My job is done. Later, as Damien drove us home, he asked with a mischievous glint in his eye, Do you know what I thought the first time I saw you? I turned toward him, curious. What? That whoever caught your attention would have to be the luckiest bastard alive. And then I laughed because that bastard turned out to be Mal. His grin widened, boyish and unguarded. My heart melted. Damien, meeting you has been the greatest blessing of my life. Back home, Marissa was waiting, her belly round and her mood swinging between joy and frustration. We curled up on the couch, trading stories of our days. She groaned at her reflection in the mirror. I don't know if I'll ever feel like myself again. I'm getting bigger by the second, and Julian won't stop feeding me. I giggled. That's love, Marissa. You'll understand fully when the baby's here. She narrowed her eyes playfully. And when are you giving my brother a child, huh? I waved her off. Not anytime soon. But the words barely left my lips before a wave of nausea rose in my throat. I stumbled, clutching my stomach. Damien was at my side, instantly, panic written all over his face. Elara, are you sick? Did Marissa upset you? Marissa leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with sudden realization. No way. I know this look. It's just like me in the beginning. Elara, you're pregnant, aren't you? I froze. She was right. I was pregnant. Damien's reaction was nothing short of euphoric. He all but danced through the apartment, crowing about how incredible he was. See, I told you. First try. Nailed it. I'm unstoppable. I laughed until tears stung my eyes. Then he spun back to me, dead serious. Listen, if you don't want to deal with the sleepless nights, the diapers, the chaos, I'll do it. I'll quit everything and be a full-time dad. You won't have to lift a finger. And for a moment, I believed him. Because that was Damien, brash, arrogant, infuriatingly confident. But when it came to me, he would do anything. The future suddenly stretched out before me, bright and warm. I didn't need more than this, him, me, and the life we were about to build together. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.